He was a father. He was a husband. And all he was trying to do was his job, and he did it very well. The Ross Correctional Institution is a high security prison. It's a difficult work. I would say that the work done in high security prisons in this department, in any institution really, is far more dangerous than what their law enforcement peers do on the street. We are working in places and having experiences that average people do not have. I know that the only thing anyone wants to do at the end of their workday is go home alive and safe back to their family. And unfortunately, Andy Lansing did not get to do that on Christmas Day. Inmate Cannon, who did this, is just pure evil. I want to thank all of the people from the prisons that have been going to Ross Correctional Institution to help them in their time of need. We appreciate during these times that everyone can come together as a team and help. I'd like to answer any questions you have to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Director. Your first question is from Carla Rogner at WBNS.
So my question is, the threat that was made that the union reported, was it directly towards Andy Lansing, and how was it made?
So Andy Lansing did write a conduct report, which is a notice of bad behavior on inmate Cannon in April. And it had, I think, 3 charges on it: disrespect, threats, and disobedience of direct order. He was found guilty of 2 of those, not all of them. And at this point, I don't have any more details than that, but I can tell you we are pulling together the entire history of Cannon's conduct reports for this incarceration and making them available to those who may request, and they should be available as early as, I'm hoping, Monday.
Thank you, Director. Your next question is from Lisa
Rontala. Yes, Rontala, thank you, from WSYX. Thank you for the time, Director Chambers-Smith. I do have a question. We did receive reports from the Ross County Sheriff's Office from the responding officers who went to the yard on Christmas Day. They had indicated that Corrections Officer Lansing was guarding or was in the guard shack by himself. Can you please explain what the guard shack is, and should it be manned solo? And if not, why was it manned solo Christmas Day?
So, first of all, on Christmas Day, each position in that prison that was assigned to a correction officer had a correction officer in it. Andy Lansing elected to work voluntary overtime so that other people could have Christmas off. That's what he was doing there. He was in the shack, as you said, and that is a small structure in the middle of the yard, really. It's not a regular building, and it's not connected to or inside of anything. So we're literally talking about a place for shelter and to make log notes and store your lunch. It's not a building, so to speak. It's a comfort space to get out of the weather and to document and store your things. So it's a small structure, and it's in the middle of the yard. So I hope that answers your question.
A follow-up, should that
Thank
be
you, Director.
locked?
Your next.
It's not a control center. It's a place where an officer could go in out of the rain, could eat their lunch, could document in their log. It's not a locked structure that's supposed to be locked.
Thank you, Director. Your next question is from Anna Hoffman with NBC4.
Hey, Director, thank you so much for taking the time today. We've been told about staffing shortages at the Ross facility, also at facilities statewide. You also just mentioned the conduct report written by Officer Lansing directly about Cannon. So did the staffing shortages have anything to do about why they were there? Were there any reason for the two to be separated following this conduct report? Are they normally not together?
That's a lot. Try to unwrap it. So normally there would be movement going to the chow hall at this time of day. So for example, Cannon's unit was released to go to the dining hall, which is why he was on the yard. He veered away from going to the dining hall and instead went to where Officer Lansing was working and attacked him brutally. There are staff shortages at the department. Statewide, we have an 8% vacancy rate. At this prison, it's a little over 11%. For about at least a year and a half that I'm aware of, Ross Correctional Institution had no vacancies. And then when we created extra positions for death row and a couple of security prison positions that the warden requested, as well as opening up a housing unit that had previously been closed, that created a 40-person shortage. At this point, there are 19 people who have start dates for that prison between now and January 21st. I just don't think the prison became fully staffed again after the additions that I just talked to you about. But Ross Correctional Institution has traditionally been a prison that's fully staffed and actually had a few extra officers on.
A follow-up to that, could this attack have been in retaliation to that conduct report in April?
The Highway Patrol is conducting an investigation, and I think we'll get that type of information from their investigation. So they're not finished with it at this point.
Thank you, Director. Your next question is from Monica Sager with Newsweek.
Hi, Director. Thank you very much. I was wondering if you could share more about statistics within the facility on how often attacks like this have happened in the past, if anything in the future is going to be taken to make more supervisions, things of that sort.
I don't have all of their statistics memorized, but as I said to you, it's a level 3 prison. So certainly there haven't been any other murders of staff, but there have been assaults, and there has been other activities inside that prison that you would kind of see at that security level. It's a very dangerous work that's being done there. I'm sorry you asked another part of the question. I don't remember what it was.
No worries. That second part was, will there be any additional precautions then taken in the future to amplify the security or anything of that sort to prevent things like this in the future?
Well, of course, anything that we find that can be done to make things better will be done. That's no doubt about that. But at this point, I think what we want to make sure is that everyone who's there is trained and they have all the tools that they need, and that we look at whatever the findings of the Highway Patrol are and the subsequent administrative investigation and address them all fully.
Thank you, Director. Your next question is from Stephanie at Channel 6.
Hi, Director. Thank you for your time today. I want to ask you a question regarding the Civil Service Union sending a letter to the governor, Governor DeWine, yesterday, requesting that yourself and the warden be put on administrative leave while this investigation into Officer Lansing's death continues. Do you have a comment to that?
I understand anger. I understand the need to make sure that this never happens again for anyone who works here. I understand the union's position.
And I do have a follow-up to that. The union is also claiming that he feels that, as the director, there is currently not a handle on staffing, better pay, and drug use and violence. And he's saying if those three things were better handled, that it could have prevented Officer Lansing's death. Do you have a comment to that?
Well, I do think there's a handle on staffing and pay. We did a mid-contract pay increase, which is unheard of. And then we also just recently had contract negotiations with another increase. So pay has been addressed a couple of times. I do believe that staffing is a problem nationally, but here in Ohio, we've had an ever decreasing vacancy rate since COVID. As I said, we're at 8% right now, and many of our facilities are fully staffed, and a couple of them have more staff than is on their organizational chart. So while we keep working on staffing, we're getting better and better, and we track it weekly. So this idea that there's just no staffing in the prisons it's not true of every site.
I'm sorry, can I have one more? Did you, have you been in contact with Governor DeWine? And if so, what does that conversation look like?
Of course, everything going on, we do brief the governor so that he knows what is happening. I think you asked another question about drugs, and quite frankly, they're a scourge. We have very robust contraband interdiction strategies, from drone detection to no longer accepting mail to coding legal mail and different searches, body scanners, drug sniffing dogs. Like, all of this has been put in place during this administration. So we take this very seriously. And quite frankly, this department has one of the most extensive drone detection systems in the country. And we also deployed flop cameras, and it's an entire plan around contraband interdiction. But 60 to 70% of the people that are incarcerated here are addicts. They try to get drugs. We stop them. That's what we try to do. And that's not going to change. It's been that way the whole time I've been in corrections, since 1993 and before. But we do everything we can every day to stop it.
Thank you, Director. Sarah Donaldson with Ohio Public Media has been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Hi, Director. Good afternoon. Two questions, but they're going to merge because I appreciate that we're not doing follow-ups. First question is, can you say at this point in time, I understand that it was a brutal assault. I understand that's how ODRC is describing it. Was Officer Lansing stabbed? Was he beaten? How was he killed specifically? And my second question is, what were the staffing levels on Christmas Day compared to a normal day that's not a holiday?
So it was my understanding there were not weapons used. I don't have further information than that. The coroner's report is not out yet, nor the investigation from the Highway Patrol, but it is my understanding no weapons were used. Regarding staffing, every post that was supposed to be filled that day was filled. How it compares to their normal schedule, I don't have that level of detail here, but I can tell you that I've been in contact with the warden regarding this matter, and he did let me know that, yes, their staff, they started on their shift with all the staff present that they're supposed to have. And that's because, I think it was like 8 people volunteered to work overtime. So they didn't have people mandatorily working overtime there on Christmas Day. They volunteered to work overtime.
Thank you, Director. I believe every media outlet in the chat has had an opportunity to ask a question. I don't see any new outlets indicating that they have a question. So with that, if you do have a question, a follow-up question, feel free to reach out to me directly. This is Joellen Smith, and my email, along with Jen Truxell's email, is in the chat. Director, do you have anything to say in closing, and then we will wrap up?
I want to say that my heart goes out to the Lansing family. They're in my prayers. That's it.